and welcome to People's Voice on VOP Television, where the stories that matters most take center stage as we continue to amplify the voices, stories, concerns, and perspectives of the Nigerian people, everyday citizens like you and I. I am Adefunke Jayesimi, and today on the show we are talking about the significant hurdles facing the African Democratic Congress ADC as it holds its National Executive Committee NEC meeting today. But before then, let's take a look at Peter Obi's outburst regarding President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration's borrowings. So here's a summary of Peter Obi's concerns about Nigerians' rising debt profile. According to Peter Obi, Nigeria's debt profile has reached alarming levels, with the country's public debt projected to surpass 200 trillion naira by the end of 2025. According to Peter Obi, the recent approval of additional external loan totaling $21 billion to $2.2 billion and a $15 billion plus a $750.98 billion domestic bond issuance would push the total debt burden to approximately $180 trillion. This borrowing pattern is unsustainable, with little to show for it in critical areas like education, healthcare, electricity generation, security, and poverty reduction. He also lamented that despite massive borrowing, Nigeria's human development indicators remain low, with education underfunded, healthcare inaccessible to millions of Nigerians, and security of lives and properties deteriorating. Peter Obi also emphasized that borrowing is not inherently bad if done responsibly and tied to productive investment with measurable outcomes. However, the current pattern of borrowing without accountability, transparency, or transformational impact is mortgaging the future of Nigerian children. He urged the government to consider the intergenerational consequences of their unsustainable borrowings and prioritize the future of young and unborn Nigerians. To address the issue, Peter Obi has called for a reset of Nigeria's fiscal culture, advocating for leaders to cut the cost of governance, block leakages, invest in human capital, and build a productive economy. He emphasized the need for responsible leadership, people-centered development, and measurable impact from borrowed funds to achieve sustainable and inclusive development and growth. Yes, that's from Peter Obi, and I think that a lot of Nigerians agree with the point where he said it's not bad to borrow if these funds can be well accounted for and spent in projects that affect the life of Nigerians. I mean, something that betters the life of the people. But it's time to move to other stories in the news with details. Let's start with politics, as All Progressives Congress APC fires back at ADC over allegations of fiscal vandalism. So a founding member of the All Progressives Congress APC, Osita Okechukwu, has responded to allegations of fiscal vandalism against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration by the African Democratic Congress ADC. Okechukwu insists that the People's Democratic Party PDP, not the APC, mortgaged Nigerians' future through corrupt policies and failed reforms. The ADC had accused Tinubu's government of reckless borrowing, warning that Nigeria's debt could hit 200 trillion before the year end without meaningful economic revival. Okechukwu challenges ADC to release Ndudi Elumelu report. Okechukwu also challenged the African Democratic Congress ADC to release the Ndudi Elumelu 2009 report on the $16 billion power sector scandal under PDP's watch. He accused PDP leaders of abandoning their party's unity and zoning arrangement after wrecking the country's economic foundation. Okechukwu urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to avoid borrowing recurrent expenses and focus on funding critical infrastructure that can boost industrial productivity and better the lives of Nigerians. In another story, former governor of Borno State, Ali Modu Sheriff, believes the African Democratic Congress ADC will not stand the test of time due to the presidential ambitions of its top politicians. Sheriff stated that the party's leaders, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amechi, and Peter Obi, are all presidential materials, and only one can be a candidate. He predicts that Obi will leave the coalition to return to the People's Democratic Party, a claim that the ADC has said it's false. In another development, the Nigerian army has apprehended a suspected Nigerian terrorist attempting to infiltrate a security perimeter in Yobe State. The troops also neutralized scores of terrorists, apprehended several others, and rescued victims in various operations across theaters of operation. The Army spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Apollonia Anelli, revealed that the suspects couldn't communicate in any recognized Nigerian language, raising suspicions of transnational involvement. Also, the Army operations yield successes. The Nigerian Army has recorded successes in its operations against terrorism and other security threats, according to Anelli. Troops killed 2 terror suspects, arrested 11 others, and recovered arms and logistics in Sokoto State, Nigeria. In Borno State, 2 relatives of terrorists voluntarily surrendered to troops, while in Kebbi State, troops intercepted a cattle rustling attempt and recovered 251 cows. Let's talk about the governor in Edo State, where the governor suspended one of his advisors over unauthorized fundraising. So, reports have it that Governor Monday Okpebolo has suspended his special advisor on oil and gas, Flix Osemingwe Ishere, for alleged unauthorized fundraising over an oncoming oil and gas summit in Edo State. The governor also halted the planned summit, scheduled to begin on August 7, saying that it is illegal and unlawful. Another story says that a PDP chieftain in Osun State, Ibukun Fadipe, alleged that President Bola Tinubu begged Governor Ademola Adeleke to endorse his 2027 re-election bid. Fadipe claimed that Adeleke accepted Tinubu's offer after the president promised to refund the state expenditure on constructing federal roads and embark on other projects to improve Osun State's status. Well, these stories have sparked a lot of reactions, with many people calling out Fadipe's claim as a joke. But whatever the case is, it's a political season and a lot of politicking, it's ongoing. But yes, those are the stories in the news at the moment. We continue to follow up, but as we explore these stories and more, we'd like to hear from you. We want to get your feedback, know your thoughts on the conversations in the studio, and also know which of the stories made it for you today. So do well to call in or text us via WhatsApp on 090-447-32605, 090-447-32605 is the number to call or text us via WhatsApp. And you can also follow us on social media at VOPTV Live. You can use the hashtag People's Voice on VOPTV. On YouTube, we have Voice of the People TV, and currently we have a channel, VOPTV Plus. Do well to subscribe on our channel, and together we can make our voices heard. Well, that's the story for the moment. We'll be right back after this break to put more perspective on the ADC and its survivor amid challenges at a time like this. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to People's Voice on VOP TV. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, is facing a critical juncture as it holds its National Executive Meeting next today. Amidst internal conflicts and court battles, the party's outgoing national chairman, Ralph Umosu, stepped aside for former Senate President David Mark, which has sparked controversy over the legitimacy of the leadership change and the position of the coalition to take over the party's structure. So these are some of the key issues facing the African Democratic Congress at the moment, starting with leadership crisis. There are 5 state chairmen who have filed a lawsuit against the David Mark-led interim leadership, questioning the role of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in recognizing the new leadership. They also talk about the party's constitution and membership requirements. The party's constitution requires members to spend at least 2 years in the party before holding executive offices, which some of the new leaders may not have fulfilled. I mean, this is a very serious one. There are conversations around court actions too. This is following the membership requirements, which a lot of Nigerians are saying that members of the coalition didn't get these details, or maybe the Rafumosu-led structure just wanted to get what they could get from the coalition and move on to the next, because it's quite dicey that the constitution of the party has this part where it is clearly stated what it takes for a member to hold executive position in the party, and none of this has been fulfilled by the coalition-led structure of the ADC. But let's talk about court actions. There are multiple court cases pending at the time, with some members seeking to nullify the leadership change. The party's constitutionality has been a subject of debate, with some members arguing that amendments were made without proper consultation. The ADC's constitution requires members to have been in the party for at least 2 years before holding office, which has also raised questions about the eligibility of some coalition members and its leadership altogether. The ADC has also been chosen as the platform for a grand political coalition in Nigeria to challenge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027 towards the presidential election. But some members have expressed concerns about the party's ability to manage the coalition and maintain its identity. There's a lot of issue that is currently going on with membership, what it takes to be a member, what it takes to hold offices, and even the legitimacy of the handover that was done. They are also calling on INEC. There's a part of INEC recognition, because the Independent National Electoral Commission has yet to recognize the changes in the ADC's leadership, which could also impact the party's ability to participate in upcoming elections. Conversations are also around internal disputes. The party is grappling with internal disputes, including disagreements over the coalition's legitimacy and the role of key stakeholders. Some of the members of the African Democratic Congress ADC have accused the leadership of hijacking the party and prioritizing personal interest over the party's well-being and what the party is being known for. Some of the members have also said that they are in a position of integrity and what values the party has upheld over years and would not be easily swayed by the rush of the moment. But here are some of the reactions from some prominent figures. There's this response from Dumebi Kachuku, who doubles as the party's presidential candidate in 2023. He had denounced the leadership change as a hijack and vowed to take the matter to court. For Musa Matara, he said Musa Matara is the displaced National Publicity Secretary and argues that the party's constitution can't be amended without public input and INEC's involvement. Ali Modu Sheriff, former Borno State Governor, also predicts that the ADC will collapse in 3 months due to conflicting presidential ambitions among its leaders. Well, it's a lot to deal with at a time like this. I don't even think that SDP had so much to deal with, or maybe Labour Party was just fortunate at the time, having just one person of interest deflecting to the party ahead of the 2023 election. But it looks like 2027 is a totally different ball game. But the reality is the fact that the ADC's future hangs in the balance as it navigates these internal conflicts and court battles. The outcome of today's NEC meeting and the pending court cases will most likely determine the party's trajectory, which a lot of people have defined as shaky. But yes, for people like us, we always believe that there might be light at the end of the tunnel, and that's not the end of the ADC. Whatever the permutations or the predictions are, we are here to see how they are able to manage the internal crisis and maybe just build that formidable coalition that might unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027 elections. But it's never a one-man show on People's Voice. I'm now being joined in the studio by Mr. Dele Fanimo, VOP TV, in-house senior analyst, to do justice to these conversations. Good afternoon, Mr. Dele Fanimo.
Good afternoon, Adefunke. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Ali Modu Sheriff, former governor of Borno State, has said that the African Democratic Congress will not see the end of the next 3 months as a strong force. How do you react to his thoughts on the reality of the ADC?
I'm sure you are trying to muffle your smile. You know the answer before you ask.
I don't know the answer. If I have the answers, I won't be asking questions.
Well, for the sake of the optics, what did I predict about 2 months ago?
So you work with Ali Modu Sheriff now? Or you share?
I told you that ADC is dead on arrival. Has it not come to pass? Everybody is now knowing that the ship is likely to sink, and everybody is jumping out of the ship. It will be as clear has smarted them and is jumping out of the ship before it wrecks.
But why will a party that has such constitution adopt a coalition and not let them know what's on ground?
There is no party registered by the Independent National Electoral Commission that does not have that clause in its constitution. And they envisaged a time like this when those things were inputted into their constitution. That somebody, a money bag, a big politician can just come right roughshod and take over the party structure overnight and shove everybody aside and dominate the party. And so, the second day of ADC's formation by this coalition that rushed into it, I said it on air that look, that party is dead on arrival. How can you get to a party within 24 hours? You started sharing positions and you started naming party executive at national level.
But Ralph Nwosu
had issues. He had already served
but he granted interviews following that event.
What would he have
talked
done?
About the establishment of the party, the position of the leadership, the expiration of his tenure, and what was next to do, saying that
Did he tell them that there was a substitute case when he refused to step down after the expiration of his term? That case is still subsisting in court.
But now he's willing to step aside to hand over to the coalition. But
how can he now willingly say he's stepping down when he has already been removed from that position?
But there was no chairman.
That is what I'm saying.
They didn't have any. So if you say that it was
town, for crying out loud, you are a princess. Can you just go to a town and establish a place in that town without finding out if they have a traditional ruler and bring your people and say, I am now the princess of this town? Even if they don't have the power, the state will give them power to send you packing. The same thing they went to SDP. They tried it using El-Rufai as the John the Baptist, even when their own Jesus was hiding somewhere, which is Atiku. And as soon as they noticed what they were trying to do, they chased them out.
But there's been a response from the Kaduna, from the secretary for SDP Kaduna, saying that expulsion is not is not the entire position of the SDP across board.
You see, I've never seen politicians being desperate as this.
So as much as people thought
in my lifetime, at least I've been following politics since I was of voting age, since the 80s. And I've never seen this kind of brigandage.
So for those that thought that the 2022-2023 pre-election and election drama was a lot, what do you
that was a rehearsal, not even a dress rehearsal.
What do you predict ahead of 2027?
You see,
because
this set of people that are united commonly because they hate Tinubu, not APC. They want Tinubu at all costs, out of power, and they also want the North. Some of them were hoodwinked to say, we want to just remove Tinubu. But unknown to them, the northern elements in this coalition, they were angling to cleverly take power back to the North before 2031. Now it's people like Obi have started seeing their shenanigans. That's why they are pulling out.
So what is Peter Obi's fate in all of this? Peter Obi has been in the news since yesterday talking about how this government needs to be held accountable for its spending and, of course, raising concerns about the borrowings. But in all of these things, do you see him as speaking out loud about this government in a voice that can be tagged to Peter Obi as against what would have been said as the coalition speaking?
It couldn't have been the coalition. Peter Obi is effectively. Do you know the antecedents of Alimudu Sheriff? Alimudu Sheriff single-handedly installed Mamman Kachala in 1999 in Borno State. And when Mamman Kachala became too recalcitrant and intransigent, he single-handedly removed Mamman Kachala and came back to become the governor of Borno State.
There's a case of Afobaje and I remove Oba.
Yes.
So he installed.
I was close to Borno at that time. I was going to Borno. I know Alimudu Sheriff's house in Borno. I am telling you, when
so
we talk
you
about
share Alimudu Sheriff's thoughts. But I want us to understand.
What Alimudu Sheriff said is what is likely to happen, except if the game changes tomorrow. Atiku played into the hands of those who said he will get the ADC ticket, he will run and win election. So prematurely he resigned for PDP. Now he cannot go back to PDP again. And so the place is open to anybody that wants to contest. Before now, the person that was touted was Makinde of Oyo State. And as of today, Makinde does not have the political clout to contest with Peter Obi in PDP. Don't forget that Peter Obi was once in PDP before he opted out as a result of the game that was played during 2022 primaries of the PDP. So it's like homecoming to Peter Obi now.
So did Peter Obi know all of this happening? Because in the past few days, Peter Obi has been speaking as Peter Obi. And this has made a lot of people say that Peter Obi is trying to build an identity ahead of 2027 election and trying to disassociate himself from the coalition.
Did I not say it here? Did I not predict that Peter Obi is likely to move to PDP soon?
But is that not a good step?
Did I not say it here that Peter Obi cannot survive in ADC? But
moving to PDP and not returning to Labour Party?
There are two options that were left for Peter Obi.
Okay.
And he took the better option. The first option is to go back to Labour Party, resolve crisis in Labour Party, unite the factions, Abure factions, Apapa and Nenadi Usman factions, and run on the ticket of Labour Party. But it appears that fifth columnist had come into Labour Party.
As it is right now.
As it is right now. So soft landing is not guaranteed for Peter Obi in Labour Party. And as God will have it, what seems almost impossible for him became possible the moment Atiku exited from from PDP. And now they know the political clout that Peter Obi will be bringing to PDP. Even if he's not going to win this election, it would have helped to prop up PDP back to reckoning.
Yes, as a strong
opposition. With his obedient group.
Right.
So they need him more than he needs PDP. And so now he will return to PDP, pick their ticket. Today, PDP still has about 10 governors or thereabouts. You have Adeleke, who is already one leg in, one leg out.
Yeah, Adeleke, Makinde.
Makinde in the southwest.
Yeah.
We have in Enugu,
yes.
PDP.
Then in the southwest.
In the south, we still have
Governor Bayelsa has not decamped yet.
He has not decamped yet. And
Kubara has not decamped yet.
No, that's not central. So let's give or take. We still have about 9 or 10 governors now. So with Obi bringing in
the obedient
movement and 10 governors, they have a better chance of squaring with APC in the next election. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, let me tell you a story of a monkey. How How they catch?
Mr. Delifan.
No. I have to tell you.
Okay, tell me
in
30 seconds.
In 10 seconds. In the Caribbean countries, you know how they catch monkeys? They will perforate the gourd. You know the gourd has a tiny entrance, but big at the bottom.
Right.
They will now put banana inside this gourd. And so when monkey comes, he dips his hand into the gourd, and once he grabs banana, you know this hand is swollen. He cannot get out again.
Stopped.
So instead of releasing the banana to take his hand out and run away, he will hold on to the banana because the greed in the element in him will not allow him to know that danger is lurking until they grab him, put chain or whatever and take him away.
So in this case, who is the monkey and who are the people trying to catch the monkey? But let's talk about the ADC now, because that is focus today. What are the main reasons behind the leadership crisis in the African Democratic Congress, and how can the party resolve these issues? Do you think that they had these issues and they've been managing it, or do you think that they decide to amplify these issues because they do not like the faces of the representation of the coalition, the faces representing the coalition?
Now, what my chairman here will always say, what brought us together is money. Now, what brought the coalition together is hatred, malice,
anguish,
anger, declining,
revenge.
No, declining finances.
Oh.
And revenge. And all these elements put together is so blinding that you will not even know when the enemy will strike. So it was like a quicksand. The house built on spittle.
Right.
The deal will destroy it. And that's what is happening. So the moment I saw the face of El-Rufai, Amechi, who else again? Aregbesola, it's a gang up of people that have personal axe to grind with Tinubu, and not not on back party basis.
With APC.
You understand? You know how Amechi was disgraced. You know El-Rufai that felt that he would just go to the National Assembly and take a bow, and he was grilled that he couldn't answer some questions, and they threw him
under the bus. There's also David Mark, who
David Mark had been in the cooler since he left presidency of the Senate. Show me one particular intervention he has made since he left. So he needed somewhere, and they went to pick him from oblivion to come and be the chairman of the party, which he would gladly take because he needs that relevance. So all these things put together, they came. It's just like somebody, a soldier, going into battlefield without considering the landmines.
So you think that was what brought about the crisis in the ADC?
Yes. One, all of them have unbridled ambition.
But it's not wrong to be ambitious.
I said unbridled. That
well,
ambition,
maybe that's where the clause is.
That cannot be checked.
Right.
And two, they came to the ring with their two eyes closed.
No. Calculations might have gone wrong.
I will explain to you. When a soldier is marching on in the battlefield, he is trained to identify possible landmines. But when you are focused on the target alone, and you are not looking at possibility of any distraction, any enemy coming from any flank, there's no way we will not run into trouble in that battle. And that was what they did. How could you come to a new party with all the experience Atiku had garnered over the years, since 1980s when Atiku had started politicking? With all the experience Aregbesola had been having since 1999. Amechi started politics since 1999. All of them, Peter Obi, 2011 or thereabouts, all of them, Peter Obi later came to join them. But the founding organs of that party, they jettisoned all the experience and exposure they had over the years, and they went blindly to the ring to fight a battle that they are not likely to win. And that is why they didn't check. It's just like you buying a car and you say, this car is smoking blue. It's not a problem. This car, the papers are not correct. No, I can handle the police. And then you come to the checkpoint. They now discover that that car was owned by somebody that armed robber killed.
No, it might just be that day that the wrong person is at the checkpoint. Okay. You might have succeeded in carrying the car.
Now that
but I like
those they felt they would settle, they couldn't be settled.
I like to see
because
positivity.
another fifth columnist had oversettled them.
I like to see positivity in all of these things. With all the court cases.
I will see positivity when it aligns with truth.
Okay. So how do you think the pending court cases may affect the ADC's ability
not going to end until after
to function
election.
as a political party?
It's not going to end until after that election.
After Anambra's election later this year or 2027 election?
About 2027. They will drag and drag. So that's very soon you'll see them jumping off that ship.
But there's a position, there's a role that INEC can play in all of these things. What role do you think INEC can play in resolving the ADC leadership discussion?
INEC was not raised to settle party disputes. Go and check the mandate of INEC.
But some party members
they
are
supposed
calling
to conduct election.
INEC to look into...
They are supposed to conduct election. And then they are supposed to be observers during NEC if they are invited. Even the convention. Did you see INEC assisting them to count votes during conventions?
No, but when PDP was having a serious...
Maybe you heard the case of Aburi. When it got to Supreme Court said, courts don't have any reason to interfere in politics and party affairs. That they should go back to their party to go and resolve. And that is what is happening. So how will we now bring INEC to this? INEC has no business with party faction or crisis in any political party.
But don't you think that this might also be a disadvantage for the people within the ADC? No matter what happens with the coalition will come, coalition will go. What are the implications of all of these challenges and internal wrangling for the members of the party and their position in contesting for future elections?
Adefunke, a cancer patient can only advise to take care and eat very well. Why? Because it's a terminal ailment. So chemotherapy or anything is just to elongate maybe for another 1 year. That is what is happening to ADC.
Miracles happen.
Miracle. And let them go to mountain top now to go and pray out the crisis in ADC. Crisis in ADC that is being fueled by fifth columnists. And you think they will let go?
Do you think that the PDP set Peter Obi against Atiku Abubakar?
It's not a question of setting him against Atiku Abubakar. The point is, Peter Obi wants to win election.
But Peter Obi has over the time acknowledged that Atiku Abubakar is his boss, is his brother, and he's somebody that he holds in high esteem at all times. Even ahead of the 2023 elections, he even attended some functions where Atiku Abubakar was being flagged as the candidate of the People's Democratic Party while he moved to the Labour Party.
Politicians. When I was in Form 1, that was 1976, I read one of the James Alichis. The title is, "You Never Know with Women. You Never Know with Politicians." Politicians, they change the tide without announcing. The fact that, okay, for instance, despite all the opposition, criticism and everything, in Vatican, Peter Obi met with Tinubu. Did they kick themselves? Did they slap themselves? They embraced.
Still went to greet him.
They embraced each other and they discussed. Were you there to know what they were?
We are not sure if they discussed. It might just be.
He knelt beside him and they banter for about 1 minute.
We didn't hear what they were saying. He was probably telling him that it remained 2 years for you.
And the man will say, "Let's see how we will do it. Don't worry, let's go back to the field." And they will laugh it off.
Or maybe he told him, "Oga, you'll be tifo."
You understand? No, he wouldn't have said that. He wouldn't have said that. Because whatever they are discussing is within earshot to the ADC that is at the back. So he will not do that.
So what's the fate?
Peter Obi is a very matured person. He will not want to engage in such.
And I know the NEC meeting is scheduled for today. I don't know how far they've come at this time. I'll be able to follow up after this program to see what the outcome of that meeting is. But what do you think is the fate of Atiku Abubakar in all of this? Because for Peter Obi, he didn't resign from the Labour Party while he claimed to be a part of the coalition.
And there is a voucher for him to come to PDP.
Exactly.
Peter Obi does not have much problem in getting a ticket.
But for Atiku Abubakar, who has resigned from the PDP,
there are out of 18 political parties, there are about 7, 8 that are still being injected with a lifeline.
Wouldn't that be screaming desperation that a lot of Nigerians have been pointing to?
Has he ever pretended that he's not desperate?
And wouldn't that be a disadvantage for his candidacy?
The politicians don't think that way. Anything is game for a politician. So he would, even if he's going to run in AZY, he will run. Whatever it is, he will run. Okay, but this AGC is now Igilera.
Well, we need an interpreter for that. But let's move away from Atiku Abubakar. There's also
infested log of wood. How you are going to carry that log of wood from the farm
to the house?
To the house.
But Mr. Fanimo, it's a lot of issues. I would have wanted us to talk about Amechi too. What's his fate? I mean, he has slammed the door against the All Progressives Congress.
That one cannot even find his compass until that next election.
But he had a homecoming in Port Harcourt
with about 200 people welcoming him.
They were not even up to 200 people. But
I
mean, maybe for security reasons and understanding that there's a sole administrator around. Maybe, I mean, you don't, for politicians, it might be the more they might have tactics. It might have things that is trying to keep in secrecy, waiting to unleash.
Amechi, even as governor, he was afraid of Wiki. Is it now that he's just an ordinary man on the street?
And owed his re-election to God Almighty and some Wiki. All right, it's time to go on a quick break. It's time to go on a break as we rest. Put the break. It's time to go on a quick break. We'll return to talk about this very sad incident where government secondary school Bachirawa in Ungongo local government area of Kano State is facing severe infrastructure crisis. Please stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with People's Voice on VOP Television, the only station that speaks the mind of the people. And yes, we're moving away from that story, the challenges facing the ADC, to the reality in a secondary school in Kano State. Report says that government secondary school Bachirawa in Ongogo local government area of Kano State is facing a severe infrastructure crisis. We have that picture, and it's in a deplorable state. It's really, really sad. The school's classrooms lack basic facilities such as windows, furniture, and doors with cracked walls and exposed ceilings. Students are forced to sit on bare floor, learning in an environment described as horrible, unacceptable, shameful, and a betrayal of the students' right to quality education by Monit NG, a civil society organization in Nigeria. This situation is particularly concerning given the significant investment in the education sector. Kano State has received billions of nairas in funding as well as international support from organizations like UNICEF, the World Bank, and the Global Partnership for Education. Despite this, the school's infrastructure remains dilapidated. And here are some of the key issues. Lack of basic facilities. Classrooms have no windows, furniture, or doors. There are cracked walls and exposed ceilings, which pose a risk to students' safety. There are talks around inadequate funding allocation. Despite significant investment in education, the school's needs remain unmet. And here are some of the relevant authorities, the Kano State government, because they are responsible for ensuring adequate funding and infrastructure for schools. The Ministry of Education, too, who oversees education policies and implementation, and State Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB, manages, they are in charge of managing education programs and funding. We also have Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, which is supposed to provide funding and support for basic education nationwide. But it's sad to see a school in Nigeria in 2025 in a state as this. As a matter of fact, it's more disheartening to see this kind of school, because just some days back we had the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwakwanso, boasting about how much he invested in education in Kano State, talk about building new institutions and even funding students to study out of the state and out of the country under a scholarship scheme. So one will wonder, is it that legacies end at the table of each administration and governors do not look into what might benefit the lives of regular citizens when they decide to spend state funds? But Money NG's appeal has gone out saying that these authorities that talk about all of the institutions from the state government to SUBEB to UBEC to the Ministry of Education highlight the urgent need for intervention to provide a safe and conducive learning environment for students. I still have with me in the studio Mr. Dele Fanimo, VOP TV in-house senior analyst. Mr. Fanimo, look at the deplorable state that school is in. And it's more heartbreaking that the students have to sit on the floor. What would you say are the primary causes of infrastructure crisis in government-owned schools like GSS, Bachirawa, and how can they be addressed? This is 2025. This is 2025. Let me say it again. In 2025, we still have to deal with something like this in Kano State.
The straight answer is corruption. If you go into the books now, you will discover that maybe AI generated or whatever means, this school would have been fixed to become one of the best schools in their books, and money would have been collected for rehabilitating this school.
So they don't go to do checks and balances?
Who is going to do the check? The person doing the check has already collected 5 to 10% of the contract sum before leaving his office. So is he going to write a report that will be negating what they have presented? Look, I have seen it happen live.
Mr. Fanimo, from the way they are sitting, you see that some of them came with mats and maybe wrappers.
Because that's the way they've been sitting in the classroom. Are you telling me that there is no inspector of education that would have come to this school and met them this way? So, are you going to tell me that the commissioner wouldn't have been aware that this is the way they are seated? But they are not bothered, because they have their children in good quality schools.
But why shouldn't any serious-minded government be bothered? Why would you
be bothered?
Swear an oath to serve the Nigerian people and not be bothered about the basic things as
better we swear
education?
With our traditional Ogun or Amadioha. You see, let me tell you the way these things happen. Somebody will come to this school, write a report, attach photographs, present it at the local government headquarters, if it's a primary school. If it's a secondary school, present it along with other schools that have issues similar to this. And then they will send the director of works to go and do physical inspection. Director of works will write a report. And when it gets to the governor or the local government chairman will call his surrogate to go and prepare a proposal. That proposal will contain the actual amount to be spent for that project. And then he will be guided that, look, 350 million naira will finish this project, write 1.2 billion. Wholesale, give me 500 million. Then the rest, give my supervisory councillor for works. Give so and so people.
So after all the giving, you still do not have anything to give to the students.
At the end of the day, what will be left for the contractor will be 300,000 from 1.2
billion.
Out of this 300,000, he will also want to make 200,000 profit. Okay. So what is left for this job is 100,000.
You know how these things work, but how can the Kano State government and relevant authorities ensure that funds allocated for education are utilized effectively to improve school infrastructure? What can be done?
What can be done is for them to have the right attitude. Most of these things, when you blame government, you sometimes misplace all these things, because how many schools will the governor visit in 1 year, in 1 month?
But it's supposed to have aids. That's why they
those aids are corrupt. Those aids are corrupt. Go to Abuja today. Most of the estates that were abandoned when Buhari came into government were built by serving directors, deputy directors in MDAs. As at that time, the salary of a director was not up to 500,000. Where did they get the money to build? I didn't say a building, an estate that comprises minimum of like 20 houses. Where did they get the money from? It is as a result of this kind of thing. So when some people call them civil servants, I call them evil servants. Because they are more corrupt than the politicians.
It's annoying, because most of the time, even
but it's not peculiar for Tokano now. Maybe about
so all the funding they get from international organizations.
Students were writing under this kind of atmosphere. They were writing with telephone searchlight from their parents in the heart of Asaba, not outside Asaba. So if a school will be as bad as that in the heart of the state capital, now what would you expect from a school in the hinterland? Do you know that as we speak, some schools don't even have physics, chemistry, biology, English teachers, and yet they will present candidates for WAEC?
This leads me to this question. If these things continue to happen, what are the potential long-term consequences of neglecting school infrastructure, and how can stakeholders work together to prioritize the needs of these students and educators? Because you expect them to write exams and meet up.
Social disequilibrium. You know what that means? Now you are creating a wide gap between those who attended good quality school and those who don't attend. And then
you will score them
they write joint exams.
Right.
NECO, WAEC.
JAMB.
Now the space becomes very narrow for those disadvantaged. The one that they have advantage, it becomes wider, and then over a period of time there will be class, such that people on the right side cannot mingle with the left.
Classism becomes and
then the ones that somebody defined criminality as opportunity, I've forgotten, but in essence it was saying that if people have latent talent and energy, but they cannot use it positively, using it to optimize their opportunities, they go into crime. And so Awolowo said it in the 60s, that the children you neglect today and training your own children, they will become a menace to your children tomorrow. Very soon, if care is not taken, it's an implosion that may consume everybody.
So what do you say? What do you have to say to the
They need to go back and address. Do you know that private schools, they have school cert holders, NC holders, yet they train children and they become useful to the society? Whereas in our public schools, you have minimum of first degree, some masters, some PhD. Yet nothing is done. And what does that tell you? The difference is supervision and neglect. Teachers will come to school in the morning and tell their pupils to put their head on the locker and sleep. While they are sleeping, she has a bag on top of the table and the other bag is carrying, she's going to her shop. And when it is time, 2 o'clock, you come back. The children, are you okay today?
Children. This is the point where I need Oyinda with all those songs.
So these are the issues. Nobody wants to take responsibility, and everybody is blaming those at the top. What did you do even at your lowest level?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dele Fanimo. It's really not a very pleasant one, but that's how we draw the curtain. Today, we hope that the role that organizations like UNICEF and World Bank play in supporting and improving education infrastructure in Nigeria doesn't go into the air just like that without any accountability. And also, we hope that State Universal Basic Education Board, SUBEB, and the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, can collaborate to address infrastructure needs of schools like Government Secondary School, Bachirawa. That's the much we can take on People's Voice today. My name is Adefunke Jaisimi, and in all of this, I still believe in this project, Nigeria. Nigeria will be great again. Good afternoon.